Well, hello there, YouTube. It's Ro here. Thank you for visiting You Grow Ro. If this is your first time here, I hope you'll consider subscribing at the end of this video. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. I appreciate you. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the perennials that I would like to add to my property this coming growing season. I'll tell you about all those wonderful perennials in just a second. I have been obsessed with perennials for, 10 years now, and recently I have had to reinvigorate my obsession with perennials because 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, I bought a house and I moved onto a property that had no perennials. Well, I take that back. There are do I have three? I think I have 3 hydrangea bushes and 1 hosta. That was all that was on this property when I moved here. And of course, gardener in me was like, oh, we gotta rectify that right now. So I got to work on my perennials right away. Today, that's a whole different story. I have so many perennials right now compared to what I had before, and in just 2 years' time. But there are still some more perennials that I would like to get added to the property. I bought some seeds this year, and I'm going to tell you guys what those are in case I give you any ideas. And one of the things that I like is when I do my seed hauls, especially, you guys are so quick to tell me that you never heard of something, or that sounds really cool and you want to give it a try, or I've inspired you to do something, and it's usually something centered around seeds, which is not surprising to me considering how much time I know I spend researching seeds. So on that same vein, I'm totally happy to tell you guys what perennials I'm going to be trying to get started on my property this year. All right, get your pens and papers out and let's talk about some perennials. All right, friends, so there are countless perennials out there, and all perennials aren't the same for everyone. My perennials may not be the same as somebody in California, etc., etc. But we all have perennials in our zones, and if you're not where I am, I'm in a 6, but maybe you're in a 5 or a 7. If you're not where I am, you'll have to research and find out if these are viable in your zone. Okay, so there's that caveat. All right, so these specifically pertain to my zone is what I'm saying, basically. And probably one zone higher and one zone below. So I'm gonna go on a limb and say 5, 6, and 7-ish, okay? Definitely 6. All right, so first thing on the list, and I do have a list. I am a consummate list maker. I try to stay organized because I'm one of these people whose brain never shuts off. And so I'm constantly thinking about things, and things are always rolling around in my head. And it just makes sense for me to write things down when they come to me all the time. Needless to say, I have countless notebooks, many lists, so many paper pads, yada, yada, yada. At any rate, this list was written in my, this is my happy planner. And I had been working on this list since last week. I had these seeds already, but I had to go through them and list them out one by one so that I could do the video for you guys. Okay, so first up is I got seeds for pineapple sage this year. I grew pineapple sage here the first year that I moved here, but it did not overwinter. However, it was in a very small container and it was a small plant. So I'm thinking bigger container, have a better root mass, and be able to get deeper into some soil and possibly perennialize for me. So pineapple sage, number 1. Number 2, I got seeds for mojito mint. For some reason, I thought mojito mint had to be propagated. You couldn't get seeds for it, but Somebody in the trade sent them to me, so we'll see what they are. I didn't do any research on that. I should have, but I didn't. I'm just gonna plant the seeds and see what comes up. Next is evening primrose. I grew an evening primrose that I got from the grocery store. I grew it inside, and I paid, what, $5 for it or something? It lasted, it flowered, no joke, for a year. So finally I said to myself, these are so pretty. It was nice to have that in the house, especially during the winter. I think I'm gonna get some seeds and grow some on my own from seed. Well, then come to find out, evening primrose is perennial here. Who knew? So I'm excited to get that going. I did buy a packet of those seeds. Next up is the kale Grex. I talked about this. I think I got this from the Experimental Farm Network. And the kale Grex is, I plan on planting 4 plants. Of course, the pack came with, I don't know, 50 seeds or something in it. But I plan on planting 4 plants. The more you plant, the better your chances are of finding one that will perennialize for you. Now, they won't all perennialize, right? That's why I'm planting 4 of them. I certainly don't need 4 kale plants. I'm the only person in my house who eats kale. Well, that we know of. I sneak it in his boots sometimes, don't tell him. Anyway, so I'm gonna plant 4 kale plants and hope to that one of them, at least one of them, perennializes. It would be akin to having a tree collard work for me here. I have grown tree collard from seed. I've grown tree collard from cutting. Can't get it to work. Now I haven't tried it here, so I did order some tree collard seeds, but they're not going to be here in time for me to start them for the spring. So we'll talk about that at a later date. But for now, I did get those kale Grex seeds, and I'm hoping that in planting 4 to 6 plants, I'll get 1 or 2 that'll perennialize. Next is the creeping cucumber. Now I think I also got these seeds from the Experimental Farm Network. Now these seeds from the Experimental Farm Network, these are non-GMO, okay? These aren't genetically tampered with. These are plants that they have been growing and crossing in order to create desirable plants, I guess you could say. But the creeping cucumber, it's a tiny little cucumber. It kind of looks like, what's that called? Is it called mouse cucumber? I can't remember. I haven't grown it yet. But at any rate, it is perennial. It has the flavor of a cucumber, and it's small, but it's productive. And I would like to get that. It's vining as well. And I would like to get that going, or at least give it a try and see if I can get those perennialized on my property. My idea is to pickle them and to ferment them. And I'm also thinking they could probably just be treated like large capers, because you eat the skin too. You eat the whole thing. You don't peel them or anything like that. You eat the whole thing. And I can't grow capers here, but I can maybe get some creeping cucumbers to come back if I find the right spot. And so that's what I want to use that for. Next up is lovage. Now, I was interested in lovage last year. I got a plant outside. It did not overwinter, but I will say the plant was stunted when I put it out last year. It was already small. I didn't have a whole lot of hope for it, and turns out I was right. It did not come back. So I did go ahead and start some seeds here again. However, I have another, the lovage I was planning on using as a celery alternative, but I found out something different, which I might as well bring up now. There is another celery, actual celery, that is possibly perennial where I am, and it is called the White Queen. Yes, White Queen celery. Now, I think I got those seeds from Adaptive Seeds. excited about that. Next up is, let's see, wild basil. Now I tried out wild basil last year. I had some really small plants. I think maybe I got one outside, but it didn't take. So I went and picked up some actual seeds from like a vendor, because the seeds that I got last time were from a seed swap from somebody local, and I didn't know how to get a hold of the guy, so I just went ahead and I paid the money to get a pack of seeds. In fact, I got 2 packs of seeds because I was so thrilled about them. I kept one for myself, and then I gave one away in the giveaway recently, and I believe Nikki over at the Everyday Life of an OCDS Chick was the recipient of those seeds. So I'm excited to see if she's able to also get wild basil growing in her yard perennially, which, by the way, is not an actual basil. It is a type of mint. And I recognize that because whenever I started those seeds last year, they had that square mint, or that square stem that is indicative of mint, but it has a basil flavor. Alrighty, this is going fast, right? Next up, I got seeds for apple mint and pineapple mint. Now again, I grew those 2 years ago when I first moved here. I grew them, but they were in small pots, just like that pineapple sage, and they didn't come back. So I'm hoping to get some bigger plants done and put them in a different container. Namely, I'm thinking my 18-gallon buckets where I'm keeping my fruit trees and stuff like that, and then I'll use the mint as an undercrop under those, and then they won't be able to get into my yard and spread all over the place. Next up is the asparagus. So I had actual asparagus plants for almost 3 years. I was growing it in containers, no less, but that 3rd year, which would have been the year I would have first been able to harvest, they petered out on me. So now that I'm on the property, I know exactly where I want to put it. I bought some asparagus crowns, 2-year-old ones, I believe, from M.I. Gardner. I put them in the ground the first year I was here. Nothing ever came back. So I don't know. I've decided though that I will start buying from seed and have them grow in my crappy clay soil for 3 years and get established in my yard. And then hopefully by doing that, I should have an asparagus patch. I won't be able to have a large one, but I'll be able to have some asparagus, and it is one of my favorite veggies. Moving on, I bought blueberries again. I think I buy at least 2 blueberry plants a year. I always go and get them from the big box stores, and you would think I would have learned my lesson, but every time they just die. They don't come back. So this year, I think I went through Fast Growing Trees, which is where I was also getting my columnar apple trees, right? So I have those apple trees outside, they're columnar, and they've been coming back 2 years in a row now. I bought the jumbo blueberry plants from Gurney's. I'm sorry, not Gurney's, but Fast Growing Trees. And I believe they have a warranty as well. So I'm gonna put those out in the yard as soon as I receive them. And hopefully in buying bigger plants, I will have, and then establish them, because they should be getting here. I think I have down that they should ship around the 10th of March, which means I should have them by the 1st of April. So they'll have April all the way up into December, January to get really, really established and be larger plants. And maybe, just maybe, 2 years down the road, I'll be able to have some blueberry plants on the property. One of my favorite fruits. Next is, let's see, wild rocket, also known as arugula. I have planted this a number of times, and I've only ever planted it in the green stalks. It's never come back for me, ever. But this year, I've decided I'm going to put it in one of my beds out in the yard. And so I think in doing that I'll be able to get this to perennialize, because I know my neighbor has arugula in her yard, so I know it works. And I thought about asking her for a little piece, and let me get a little piece of that. But I didn't. I'm gonna do it for myself and have that experience. I mean, it's good to be able to think that I can go over to her if I'm not able to do this, but I do just want to give this one chance from seed in the garden bed before I go over there asking her to break up her little patch she's got. And finally, new to me is I tried this last year as well and got nothing. I put a little tiny plant out and it was gone, probably just slug scattered or something. But it's called 9-star cauliflower or broccoli, depending on whose catalog you're looking at. Either way, I would like to get some of that going. I wasn't a fan of cauliflower until I grew it myself and fermented it. I love me some fermented cauliflower. And broccoli is one of my favorite vegetables as well. So that 9-star cauliflower / broccoli would just be a dream to have on the property. All right, friends, I tried to make that. Oh, no. And then I have a bonus for you. I'm sorry. I have a bonus. And my bonus for the perennial is garlic. I know what you're going to say. Garlic isn't necessarily a perennial. No, not quite, but it can be grown as a perennial. So if you leave it in the ground and then the bulbs split and then they turn into bulbs and you just harvest a little bit at a time, you'll have garlic every year, and your patch will get bigger and bigger and bigger, thereby at least mimicking a perennial here in Zone 6. So I'm hoping to grow garlic as a perennial this year. And let me just make sure, and it looks like, yeah, oh no, here's another one. And this one isn't, okay, so I would like to get the Mitsuba parsley going in my yard. It is not a perennial, however, it is an active reseeder. So if I can just get one nice plant in like the corner of a bed, I feel like it'll reseed and reseed and reseed every year. I know that kind of like how I composted that, I think it's called Boo Pumpkin, in one of my garden beds the year that I moved here. And then now it's come up every year, and every year they're bigger and bigger and bigger, and they're super cute. Matter of fact, I still have some in the house right now. I'm hoping that the Mitsuba parsley will be like that, to where if I just leave some in there, it'll reseed, and then it'll act again, mimic being a perennial. All right. Let's see here. Oh, and I have one for you guys. I've grown this already, and it came back for me twice. But I think if I plant it differently, I can get it to come back every year. I think I know what I did wrong the first time. Not that I did it wrong, because it did come back, but it didn't stick around forever. Okay. And so that plant is perpetual spinach, which I don't believe is an actual spinach. I believe it's more of a chard. It's part of the chard family. Anyways, it's a beautiful leaf. It's not super tough, not mucilaginous like that Malabar spinach. It's like a nice leaf, and they get pretty big. I would say maybe about the size of my hand is what I got, and that was growing them in the green stalk, which I intend to do again, but just a little bit differently. So I would like to get that going again. It had a really nice mild flavor, and the bite was nice, has a nice stem like any other spinach, and it does well in the summer. So I want to get some perpetual spinach going. I think I got the seeds for that from Baker Creek, I want to say. Check it out. I think that about does it. All the rest of the stuff on this list here and here, all the rest of that stuff is things that's already on the property. Can you believe it? In 2 years' time, I have added this many perennials to my yard. Incredible, incredible. In 2 years' time, here's what all I've added to my property. When I got here, hosta, I had one hosta plant, and I have 3 hydrangeas in the front of the house. At this point, I have rudbeckia, which I bought, Shasta daisies, which I started from seed, roses Sharon, I bought from the marketplace. I have regular sage, started from seed, walking onions I bought and got for free. Tarragon I started from seed, oregano, lemon balm, chocolate mint, strawberries, chives. What else is there? I have grapes. I have tree lilies. Oh, I can't wait to see how big they get this year. I have sunchokes. I have stinging nettle. I have Maximilian sunflowers. I have white multiplying onions. I have mushrooms. I have thyme. I have hollyhocks. I planted Dutch yellow shallots and French round shallots and gray Griselle shallots last year. They should come back for me. I have roses. I have apples. I have a peach tree. I have horseradish. I have society garlic, which I planted last year. Hopefully it'll come back this year. I have kiwi. I have feverfew. I have peaches and cream honeysuckle. I have a sweet giant blackberry on its 2nd year. And that might be it for what I've written down here. But imagine that in 2 years' time, I have added all of those things to my yard. 2 years. 2 years. Incredible. Incredible. So tell me, what perennials are you planning on putting on in your gardens this year? Or are you all set? Are you done? Or are you someplace where you can't put perennials in the ground, but maybe you want to grow some in containers? Let me know. I might be able to help you out with some suggestions. As always, leave a comment, share, like, and I will see you guys in another video on another day. Until then, happy growing, my friends.